to just kind of recall the build-up to the external, to the raid. At that stage of the war, we were going on a frequent basis into camps across the border. It was quite a regular event, but not on this scale. Chimoio was bigger than we ever knew. It started off, we were based at, it was actually, I think, Grand Reef, and we were doing fire force there. We were called in to the tent, and the major read out, I think it was approximately 24 names that we must grab our kit and get onto one of the trucks. We're going back to Salisbury. And in those days, you only went back to Salisbury for one good reason. There was a raid coming up or something was happening. Okay. So we all, quite excited, jumped on the trucks and we went back to Salisbury. And we were told, on arrival, we got the night off in town, which is a luxury we weren't not used to. So we all went into our local pubs, the Cocktail and likes, to find a lot of other units in town too. So there was a huge amount of humour mongering going on, people wondering what big raid is coming up because there's so many top units in town. And I think, if I'm correct in saying, there were rumours put out intentionally to put the focus on outside where we were going. And the rumours we were picking up, or it was going around in 3 Commando anyway, was that we were going into Zambia. And we believe these rumours were put out deliberately. The next day, we all woke up with terrible hangovers, and we were told to assemble our kit and draw additional ammunition and grenades. If I recall right, I was a machine gunner at the time. I was carrying 1,500 rounds, which was quite a weight. And the other guys in my stick also carried additional belts of ammunition for the MAG. So there was a buzz of excitement going on. We've never been through this. They were checking weapons, they were checking kit, and this carried on throughout the day. We were advised that no one was to be near a telephone or a telephone booth or anything like that, that everything now was top secret. We were then transferred the following morning to New Serum Air Force Base, where we all assembled in one of the big hangars with several other units. And that night we had a briefing. While we were there, the premises were being patrolled by military police to make sure no one went out and used a phone. The following night, we had a briefing with all the top generals and politicians. And they actually, at that point, we understood the seriousness of the mission. They were risking, they were throwing everything at this mission. All our aircraft were out there, everything. They left the country extremely vulnerable. And rumour had it that there wasn't even any choppers left to help any injured people within the country during this time of the mission. So yes, we all listened to this, and as a youngster it was going through my mind, and someone mentioned in a book that they said a bridge too far, and this was basically what everyone was saying. We felt, here's 150 men going into a camp of 5,000 plus, well armoured, very close to a Russian battalion of tanks, and the weaponry that we took in was very light. We weren't equipped to take on armour. But as always, we believed in our officers, we believed in their planning, and the guys that had done all the hard work in getting the information of the camp. We were basically told that we just barely had enough capacity to bring us out in aircraft, and that there should be no souvenirs brought along back from Mozambique, which, yeah, but that was the least worry at that time of the day. And most of us didn't sleep that night. We were all extremely excited, worried, nervous, whatever the word might be. And that's how the op got started. John, that's the lead up to the operation.
So you slept that night at Cranbourne Barracks?
No, we were at Cranbourne Barracks that night. I wouldn't say slept. No, we all felt at that stage this was a big one.
Yeah. And then what happened, Fergus?
Well, the following morning we were up at crack of dawn, assembling, getting our chutes checked for the 15th time. we equipped. I can't recall what time we boarded the aircraft, but we flew from New Zealand. But it was stunning, watching all the Dakotas lined up as they did in the Second World War, and all the paratroopers marching to each plane, and the planes took off in formation, and that was a great feeling to feel that you're part of this huge job.
Did you take extra ammo?
As I say, yeah, where I'd normally take 10 belts, I had 15 belts with me on that occasion, and several more grenades and the likes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yes, we were very heavy going into the thing. In my Dakota, I was second at the door, meaning that one chap would be looking out at what was going on. I was just behind him. And but then we took off very early in the morning from New Zealand, and we flew to Chimoio directly. The jets started their bombing at, I believe it was 7:45. As I say, they sent over a plane to deceive the guys on the ground. Just a normal personnel carrier, a airline carrier, airline plane went over the camp to distract the people on the ground. And just thereafter, the raid started. With the jets going in, striking their targets, they were trying to neutralize a lot of the anti-aircraft guns to make it a bit more safe for the paras. And we flew in. It was really like the old war movies, We were more keen on getting out of the Dakota. Being a very slow plane and flying very low, we felt ourselves extremely vulnerable to being shot down. And everyone just wanted to get out the plane before. There was a very, very high amount of anti-aircraft fire. And as standing, looking out the door, one could see a lot of the action and could see the jets going in. Then we jumped. I was so delighted to jump to get out the aircraft. And as we were jumping, there were two hunters that were covering us, going just above us, firing at targets and helping us get down more safely. Had a large amount of anti-aircraft positions. There's a lot of books written, and that guys have really gone into detail and exact numbers and that, which I don't have in the back of my head. Yeah. So we jumped in, but I just remember coming down and seeing a large amount of people running in long grass. I've said in a previous interview that being a gunner, your gun's strapped to the side of you, and you can't get to it until you've landed. You had a pistol, and the grass was very long. So I landed in grass. I couldn't see the other members of my stick or the sweep line. And while I was getting ready, a couple of guys bumped into me and ran off. But yeah, there was a large number of terrorists on the ground running past us.
Sure. That must have been quite confusing, Fergus.
It was very, to me, it was...
Almost as much danger being shot by one of your own guys.
That's right. It was a kind of weak link in the whole operation, in that it would have been far better to link up earlier and tighten the net, but the circumstances didn't allow it with the long grass and the likes.
Were you a stop group?
We were a stop group, yeah.
Okay.
But there were stop groups. What happened, once we formed a line, then we swept forward, and we swept forward to it looked like the headquarters, if I may say so. I think where top politicians used to overnight or stay there when they were there. And in sweeping forward, we under fire continuously. The firing didn't stop for a second, and we were in combat all that time. We swept forward. We got to this little outpost. Well, I wouldn't call it outpost, but there were several buildings. And in one of the huts, I found a briefcase, which I still have today. And it was Nkurungai Kangai's briefcase. And there's an aeroplane ticket in the briefcase. Yeah, so that confirmed it was his briefcase. Yeah, I think we just missed the main targets. I think it was very, very close.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were informed that this was happening. At that stage, you didn't know who your friends were, with all these superpowers. And the best story I think I heard was when we arrived back in Grand Reef. The raid had gone public, so there was no longer secrets about it. The whole country knew. And I went to the phone in Grand Reef and I phoned my girlfriend then and just told her we were back safe. But prior to getting on the phone, there was some chap, that mechanic or bottle washer or whatever he may be, was on the phone telling his wife the terrible time he's just been through. And it was amazing what he was telling her. So he got a bit of a rev after that phone call. Yeah, but yeah.
So did you guys spend the night there?
Yes, we did. Yeah, the battle continued. It was continuous, encounters with small groups all over the place, and some of our guys got injured. That was terrible to see by friendly fire, but it couldn't be helped. It was a very small area with a very large amount of aircraft and people, in a very close proximity. So yeah, we did get a few injuries to our troops. And then that night we formed a big circle, formed a 360, and we stayed the night. Now, that's where we became very vulnerable to the tanks that were approximately 10 to 15 km. You actually could see the lights from the town. And we thought, well, this is where we'd be vulnerable, that if the tanks came in that night, the jets weren't that equipped to do the night attack, That's how I understood it. And so we formed the circle, and all night long there were groups walking into the circle and skirmishing and firing. Right through the night, it didn't stop. But if I can talk for myself, the first day you are so fatigued, I think it's just all, not physically, most probably mentally, that you no longer jumped for cover every time someone fired at you. You actually stood there and fired back.
Yeah.
You were totally fatigued. And that night, most of the night we stayed up again with all the skirmishing. And the most glorious part of the battle was the following morning when they came to pick us up. All the G cars came in, the Alouette helicopters, and they flew in a circle in a 360, and one would drop down to pick up a stick and the other one would take off to join the circle. And it was like a glory parade, a victory parade, as these choppers went around picking up the sticks, and we all flew back, very happy.
Did you use lots of ammo?
Not really. We weren't known for wildfiring. It wasn't a trait in RLI. You fired at your target or you cleared a bush or something like that. No, we didn't use the type of ammo. Well, I certainly didn't, but I'm sure in other areas they most probably did. But we were quite conservative, especially on the MHE. You'd fire short bursts of 4 or 5 rounds. And hopefully they're on target.
I can remember one of the abiding memories I have of my first external was I carried a lot of water with me, but I was so thirsty.
I think it's a dehydration.
And by 10 o'clock, I think, in the morning, because we also went in at crack of dawn.
Yeah.
And I think by about 10 o'clock it was super hot and humid, and I'd finished my water.
Yeah.
And my main thought was to try and find some water somewhere.
That's very true. Yeah.
And I like searching huts, and eventually I found a hut with a bucket in it, covered with green leaves.
Yeah.
And tasted it, and it was, I was so chuffed, able to refill my water bottles. But I promise you, for about an hour, there was no other thought on my mind other than I've got to find some water.
Yeah, the camp, the specific place that we entered, I don't know how to describe it. There were a few mud huts and there were a lot of formal buildings.
Yes.
And you could see all the cooking and all that was done. It was quite for some senior staff, whoever they may be have been.
Yes.
And rumour had it that Mugabe had been there very not so far back.
Yeah.
And the feeling a lot of what would speak about was that there was a tip-off that these guys knew that we were coming in. I wouldn't say in advance, not too in advance, but enough time to get the senior politicians out of the place.
Okay.
Yeah, that hence there weren't many captured or killed.
Apparently the SAS lost one guy, I think.
Nell was shot.
And the Air Force lost
A vampire came down, crash landed, and
so we only really had 2 casualties.
Yes, but we had quite a large, not a large number, but we had quite a few injuries. As I say, a lot from friendly fire, which you can expect. And it wasn't bad at all. I mean, we walked out there basically unscathed, besides the 2 deaths.
Yeah. Did you spend a lot of time gathering intel material?
You know, where we were next to very large warehouses with maize in, very, very large. A lot of donations from our friends in Europe, like the Dutch and the likes. You'd see packs of aid, food boxes and the likes. And then what happened, we sat around for a while, not knowing what was going to happen to the end of the day. And then they flew in their special branch guys who went through documents and went through, but bearing in mind that they had very little capacity to fly stuff back.
Yeah.
Because everyone was parachuted in, and we were in full capacity with our helicopters, you know, already.
Yeah.
So
apparently, what they were unable to take back, they just destroyed.
That certainly was the case. But we never. What I saw, there wasn't a large amount of material taken back.
So you must have been exhausted because you hardly slept the night before.
Yeah, it was 2 nights,
and then the whole day you were exhausted. And then that night you were skirmishing all night.
That's right.
So you must have been dead on your feet.
No, it was quite a day. Yeah.
Did you have a nice kick back at base afterwards?
You have to kind of wind down a bit, don't you? Yeah. No.
What was the feeling of? Was there a feeling of celebration?
There was a feeling of victory. You know, I think everyone came out of it saying we did the job. You know, it was everyone was very proud of the results, and it actually did a huge amount for the moral in the country. You know, the well-being and the feeling of people in the country. You know, that it really did a large amount of good.
The logistics involved so much.
I really have to. I must take my hat off to the higher echelon. The planning, everything. The guys that went in and got all the information prior to the raid, they did a sterling job. And without them, the op would not have been a success. Really, they did. You can't say enough. And the planning. And I think if any senior officer stood out now, they would have said we expected a huge more casualties, air crashes, you know, that type of thing. So many aircraft in a confined area, very dangerous.
Yeah.
And I think we got over it basically unscathed, as I say, unfortunately to the 2 guys who lost their lives.
I can't remember where I heard this, but I think one of the SAS guys saying, I don't know whether it was Standish White who was saying that they were told to expect like 30% casualties.
I didn't want to mention numbers, but they expected, if I'm correct in saying it.
1 in 3.
No, also the aircraft would be extremely high, the amount of collisions,
Yeah. Gosh.
You can believe that, you know, all in a small area with a huge amount of aircrafts participating.
Was that, you talk about the anti-aircraft fire, did they also use it in an anti-personnel capacity against you guys?
We never came across any direct fire from the 12.7s. No. It was mainly aircraft. It was extremely high when we jumped. It was, you know, that was small arms fire and the bigger weapons too.
Yeah.
It was extremely high,
Yeah.
But, you know, we're jumping at such a low level. Your time in air is short.
Okay.
And people always believe it's very easy to shoot a paratrooper down. It's not as easy as it looks, because you're oscillating, you're going from left to right and down, and you're only 20, 30 seconds in the air. So I think you're far more in danger of getting shot in the aircraft than in the air coming down, because the aircraft's going through very, very slowly to jump, the guys, and very low. You know, you're looking at 500 foot, which is really nothing.
Apparently, Des Archer has the record. You know, he did the record number of combat jumps, but he also, I think, had the record for the number of bullet holes in his canopy. It's like 20. I
didn't think we counted them, but I'll take his word. I'll take my hat off to the number of jumps he's done.
When the anti-aircraft fire came, was it like black explosions in the sky?
Not at all. Not at all. It was just cracking. It was just cracking, and you wouldn't know if it was hitting the aircraft or not. You know, it was just cha-cha-cha all around you, and that's why you couldn't wait to get out the door. I just.
The guys weren't airsick or anything?
No, nothing, no. But the Jack was very quiet going there, I must say. I think a lot of guys were quite concerned.
Okay.
Yeah. Normally you'd have a few
Lost
jokes
in
passed
your
around.
thoughts.
Yeah.
Gosh, Fergus, thanks so much, brother.
Right,
Appreciate this.
lovely.
And appreciate your recollections.